Here is a little tutorial on how to set up Ninjam so that you can jam with people all over the world in excellent, I do mean excellent quality audio. It also records each person to its own track, and there's a little trick to getting all that information into Reaper. Anyway, there is a standalone version of Ninjam that does not use Reaper, but we're going to use the plugin that's available in Reaper. Okay, now I've already got this session set up, so for those of you who are not familiar with how to add a track, go to Track, Insert New Track, or you can just go Control-T. The one that's lighter gray is the one that we just added. It's selected. Any track that you click on in Reaper, of course, turns that lighter gray color. We're going to go ahead and hold down Control and hit X while this track is selected to get rid of it, because I just wanted to show you how to add a track. Let's go over how you would set the track up, and we're going to use this track. See down here where and the little Alt information comes up when you mouse over it that says record output stereo latency compensated. Here's the basic settings that you want. What I've done here, just to bring that up, is I right click on the little thing right underneath the yellow speaker. Okay, so that's my first order of business. So you want to select monitor input, then a couple down from that you want to select monitor track media when recording, and record output. When you mouse over that, you're going to get a submenu that comes up, and you want to select record output stereo latency compensate. You also want to go to input stereo. I'm assuming you're going to be putting a stereo source into Ninjam for your instrument. Or, you can also go input mono if you're just running a singular mic on a guitar amp, or if you're singing. The beauty, of course, with Ninjam is anything that you can run audio from, okay, you can run audio into Ninjam and jam along with it. And you can see my options here might differ from yours. My interface has quite a few inputs, but yours may only have two. So the thing is if you want to use mic line 1, only go mono and select mic line 1. If you want to go stereo, you're probably going to go mic in 1 and mic in 2, so that you have, a left and a right. That's the first thing that you want to get set up. The next thing you want to do is when you repeatedly left click this, it's going to change from gray to orange with a little A, which means record monitoring auto. You also have record monitoring off when it's gray, and record monitoring on when in fact it is orange. That's the way that I have it. Now, you're not actually recording data to these tracks, but you do want to have the record button enabled. When it's not enabled, it'll be gray like that, but that's not what you want. You want to make sure that it's red. Your plugins, your effects, you can actually run effect, like I have a compressor that I have on this channel. You may want to add other effects. That's kind of up to you. I've thrown in delays and all sorts of stuff to fit whatever the jam that I'm doing is. The envelope button, you're basically going to ignore, because that's only for recording tracks in Reaper. Right now, since we're focused on Ninjam, the envelope button's kind of unnecessary. Now, the input out button, input output, or it'll say I/O, that's the green one right here. The green button is important, and I'll tell you why. Let's click it. You don't have to have hardware output here. I happen to have it set up also for recording purposes, and I load this track from a template so that it already comes up with it like this. But this isn't necessary. This isn't necessary. None of this stuff here, or here is really necessary. You want to have master, parent, send on. That means that this track will send to your master here. Reaper comes up automatically when you create a brand new blank project file. Your master fader will come up and will look exactly like this, well, or something like this. My theme that I'm using may differ from the theme you're using in Reaper. But basically, this makes sure by checking this box that you're sending audio here, and you'll know it because you'll see the levels jump here. In the case of this being a stereo channel, you want to make sure that your parent channels are going to be 1 and 2, and the number of track channels is 2 because it's a stereo channel. If it was a mono channel, you could put track channels only 1. Let's look here. See, you can assign this to track 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, or 1 and 2. Actually, I don't go 2 and 3 because that would be using part of your 1 and 2. So I either assign my parent channel to 1 and 2 or to 3 and 4. Now, I had something to assign to 5 and 6, and it appeared to be setting up and working correctly, but when I connected to the Ninjam server, the Ninjam server did not see 5 and 6. It saw my 3 and 4, and it saw my 1 and 2. But in the configuration file for the server, it defaults to only allowing 2 stereo channels per user. If you happen to be on a Ninjam server that you know for a fact allows more inputs, then you may be able to use a 5 and a 6, or a 7 and an 8, or a 9 and a 10, depending on how many channels per user the server will allow. And it'll work a little different in mono since you're only using 1 channel. You could technically have 4 channels of something mono if you decide to go that way, but 1 and 2 count for 2, and 3 and 4 counting for 2. That makes for only 2 stereo channels or 4 mono channels. If you have more than one thing that you're sending to Ninjam, it gives people on the other end that are hearing your stuff the ability to turn down one part that you're sending and maybe turn up the other part you're sending. Where if you assign them all to 1 and 2, that will send the audio to Ninjam, but it will not allow anybody else to mix your parts, which when they're listening to your parts, they would like to do that, I'm sure. So anyway, just a quick recap, make sure you set this, and this. Okay, if you're going to have stereo channel for this channel, then make this track channels 2. For instance, let's go over to this other channel here, and if we look on the input output here, you'll notice that I have the vocal channel sending on 3 and 4. So what I've done here is I sent all my instruments to 1 and 2, and I sent my vocal to 3 and 4. And you'll see why that's important in a minute, but as you can see, the master channel parent send is also checked here. In the Ninjam interface, which is this over here, I've got Rhodes and bass going to stereo 1 and 2, and voice is going to 3 and 4. And that's why you set up the track where, over here, where the voice is going to 3 and 4 here, and that way Ninjam is able to be set up according to what you set up here. This, you're probably going, where did that come from? Well, that came from over here. See the master? We talked about that earlier. On the effects input of the master, the plug-in here that's important, you can forget this is even here, is VST Ninjam. Okay? And if you have nothing in this window and you need to add this plugin in, here's how you find it. You go to the Add button, and then you click on Kakos. You see that Ninjam? That's the one I would double click on, or I would just highlight it and then click OK. When you do that, Ninjam comes up here, and you click on Show Ninjam Console, and this comes up, and this is Ninjam. Okay? If none of this stuff was here, the first thing I would do is I'd say Add Local Channel. So I'd click on this, and it would add a local channel, and it will say New Channel. You remember how we set up this track to go to stereo 1 and 2? This is my Rhodes, and this is my bass, which is also going to stereo 1 and 2 because of the input-output I/O settings that we made earlier. I set this to stereo 1 and 2. As you can see, I can set it to 3 and 4, 5 and 6, but we want it on 1 and 2 to receive from my 2 channels here that are set to send on 1 and 2 in the input-output section. In the vocal channel, we would add another one, and we'd say we want this to receive on 3 and 4. You'll notice in both places where it says New Channel, I renamed this Rhodes and Bass, and so I just kind of click in there, and I call that Rhodes and Bass because my Rhodes here and my bass here are sending on 1 and 2. I control the levels of those things on these sliders or on the instrument itself that I'm the keyboard.self that I'm sitting on. On 3 and 4, I've set up my vocal channel, and my vocal effects channel also is sitting on 3 and 4. And it's a stereo channel, so track channels I put 2 because there's 2 channels. And you'll notice this is a good example of how I didn't even put anything for any of this stuff because I set these tracks up were specifically for Ninjam. I'm sending all my vocal stuff on 3 and 4 and all of my instrument stuff on 1 and 2. Now, these tracks I just added, I'm going to say delete and delete because I've already got my tracks set up. But now what I'm going to do is log into Ninjam. The way you do that is you'll notice the file menu up in the upper left-hand corner there. That's this right here. I click on that, and before I go to connect, I go to preferences and save multi-track recordings for remixing later, and then I put the place where I want to save these to. And I suggest you don't save it to your same drive that your operating system's on. It should be on another drive because your operating system drive is already busy enough running your operating system and running this program. So the actual audio files go to my F drive in place of my choosing that I have selected there, and you can hit the browse button to pick the spot you want it to go. So it's just like your file explorer for Windows. I set it up to save multi-track recordings for remixing later. I do not check the save uncompressed wave recordings too, because uncompressed wave recordings are huge files that take up mondo space and will fill up your hard drive, and we don't want that. Where these multi-track recordings are saved in a OGG format, I believe, and they are much more conservative on the amount of space they take on your hard drive, and the audio quality of these files are absolutely fantastic. Once you set up your preferences, now here's the fun part. We go to connect, and it says requesting list. You want to click connect anonymously. Make sure that's clicked, and then make up a name for yourself. I'm calling myself Mike-Keys. Find a room that's got somebody in it would be the first thing I would do. And like right here, you can see this room has some people in it. It's got Mojo and Stringer and TBFX, which are all obviously nicknames that people have assigned themselves to join this jam room. You'll see that there are 4 people here. It says 4 of 6. That means that there are 6 people allowed on this server, and there's already 4 there. So if there were 6 of 6, you would not be allowed to come in because servers have limits as far as how many people that they're allowed to invite in. Anyway, yeah, find a room that has people in it but isn't full, obviously, because a full one won't let you in. And you can either highlight it and then click connect, or just double click it. Either way, it'll work the same. And if you want to refresh the list to see if any new people have joined any other rooms, like let's say you don't want to jam with these particular people, maybe if you refresh the list, you'll see that somebody else has joined another room. Every jam room has the metronome set to a particular speed, and that may affect your decision as to which one you want to join, depending on if you want to play it slow jams or fast jams. This slider right here will control how much of the metronome you hear when you're in the room. And when you first join a room, you'll just hear the metronome for a time, and then all of a sudden you'll hear all the other people in the room because the Ninjam plugin takes a second to get you joined up. This right here, this master volume, controls all the volumes of all the people in the room simultaneously. These sliders here, and if we drag this down, also this slider here, each channel automatically provides you with a volume slider for yourself as well. In addition to that, this will control volumes overall, and of course your regular channel volume sliders will control the levels of the 2 things that you are sending through said channels. I will be bringing you another video to show you how to load up the session that you created with the other people that you run into on the jam room circuit there. The audio quality, like I say, is astounding. In fact, the audio that you're hearing underneath this dialogue right now is just such a recording made of a recent Ninjam session that I was in. You will see people's names, their nicknames, and the first few characters of their IP numbers, which will kind of tell you what part of the world they're from over on this side of the pane. When you're in the room, you are represented by all the stuff here, and the other people in the room will show up over here. So until next time, have a good jam with Ninjam.